Hi guys, so we are here today discussing about the data storage with the container pipeline service. So as of now, until now, the container pipeline service was pretty much a stateless application where, apart from the logging that happens for each and every build, there is no data that is persisted. So, but we do have a lot of builds happening across a lot of containers on the CentOS container pipeline service, and that is a lot of data. So we decided that we need to actually, since we have all this data, we need to collect this data and make it available not just for analysis, like the way we would find out how many builds are successful, how many builds failed, which images are are failing too frequently, stuff like that, but also make it available to the end user so that he can make a judgment which images to use, and the developer can come to know like he needs to fix an image because it's failing too frequently, stuff like that. So as this is actually going to be a series of demos that's going to happen, and this is the first one in that series, and this is about actually getting the data, collecting the data from the pipeline and getting it into the database. Okay, so based off that we can start off with that background in mind. Uh, we did what we have here is the AR diagram, the entity relationship diagram of the database itself. So we have this entire database structure which is not finalized yet. I will be publishing it into the Git repository once it's finalized, but as of now we have these tables. So we had the lower three tables are dealing mostly with report tracking, which is basically rebuilding the containers based off RPM changes and other stuff like that. But in this demo we'll be focusing mostly on the top three tables, which are dealing with the pipeline build information. So project is the relates to each and every image which is built on the pipeline. A build is created every time a build is triggered, and we have build phases states, which basically deals with each and every phase, what happened in each and every phase of the build. So based off that, every time the like whenever the index is populated, that time the project table is manipulated, and whenever there is a build, we have this guy getting manipulated, and along with that, each and every phase we are going to populate the build phase table to make sure that the data is available for each and every build. So with that, let's try to make sure that let's try to get the data on the container pipeline service into the database. So I'm going to be triggering the builds here on this particular project, and before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the machines, and let's get the data, let's get what we need to track the builds. So let's get into the PostgreSQL container. So the data is getting stored on PostgreSQL, which by the way is also built on the pipeline and served on Registry Ui. So let's get into this container and let's connect to the database. So you will notice that there are actually a number of tables here that are already set up and already available. This happens to deployment where we have the tables getting created by using Django. So in the web we have the tables. Let's just see what we have in the tables. So first we have the projects table, and you can see that there's already some entries here because the index has already been processed by the pipeline already from the deployment which I have made. So there are already entries for each and every project. Like this is the project that we're going to be triggering against, and it was created on this date and time, stuff like that. Obviously there's more data to be stored, but that is not part of this demo. So let's try to trigger a build, and for that I'm going to connect into the same machine again, and let's track the logs so that it becomes easier to find out what's happening. So let me just tail the log file. Okay, so we are tailing it, and now I'm going to go ahead and trigger the build. So build. So this basically initiates the job and puts into the queue, and that is all it does. So once this is into the queue, we can go back to the, yeah, it's in the queue now. Let's go back here, and if we check the logs in a couple of minutes, we should be having the build being picked up. There you go. So the build information is being picked by the first worker in the pipeline, which is the Docker lint, which is the Docker lint. So yeah, so let's go and look at the meantime. Let's go and just look at the tables. So we have the build table, sorry, builds table. So we can see that there's a build that has been created for this particular pipeline right now, and for a particular build right now. And if I go to build underscore phases, you will see that, okay, so there's a Docker lint file that is already completed, and the Docker lint file which I picked it up, and it has completed the linting, and yeah, the build worker is processing it right now. So as I keep checking, yeah, it's going to processing, it's being picked up and it is now being processed. You can see that there's a build that is triggered on the OpenShift for this. So this is actually going to take a little bit of time, maybe 2 to 4 minutes. So feel free to skip ahead that much if you need to. So once the sky is done, you should see that the state will change. So you will see the build has completed here. So it should, yeah, so the build has been completed. That is complete here, and there's a complete here, the database reflecting, and this test worker has been queued up already. So if I go down here, we should be able to actually see that the test worker has picked up on this job. It's not started processing it probably, or maybe it has. Yeah, it has. So they should have seen state processing, as it's picked it up here, and it's already created, and also it triggered the build. Okay, so it's probably done. Yeah, so the test worker is completed, and now the scan has picked it up. So yeah, this. So once the scan starts with processing this, we should see the change of state. So yeah, there is a scan worker has picked it up. The scan worker has picked it up, so you should be able to see that it's gone to processing state. And while this processes, let me just inform you that each and every build phase can have multiple states. It can be queued, which is there's just been added to the queue, and it can be processing, in which case the build is being processed, or it can be complete, which is it's done successfully. It can be failed, which is there was an issue with the processing itself, which caused the problem. It can be an error, which case it is not problem with, it could be a problem with the service itself that caused that error. Basically exception cases with results in error, and if the failure is from the from the phase itself, that is probably the build failed, then in that case it will go into a failed state. Now scan is not actually a compulsory phase at the moment, so it does not, it's a non-blocking phase, so it will report error, but if there's an error, but it will not cause a build failure. So I just wanted to inform you this, as this here there is going to probably be a failure because there are some things that need to be fixed in this particular container which the scan will detect, and it will be reported to the end user, but we won't see it here. So yeah, the scan is just completed. As you can see it here, it told the logs and it removed the image from scanner, and you will see that the scan is failure, but like I said, it's not a blocking thing, so it will not be an issue. But in a delivery, it will not block the delivery, so the container image will be delivered. Now, you will notice that the first three phases have a start time and an end time, but the delivery has not, so it's actually being timed as well, which is the statistics, which should help with statistics. And I think the delivery should be done by now, not yet. Okay, let's give it a couple of minutes, and there you go, it's completed. So the delivery is completed. Now if I go back to the build table, remember we saw that it was processing, so if I just go back and do select start builds, you'll see that it just got changed to complete. And if I check the time stamp on this guy and this guy here, 1950C, it's the same thing, almost the same. It's just a millisecond difference, because as soon as this completed, then this gets completed, and millisecond timing difference will always be there. So here we see that the entire pipeline is tracked, and the data about the build phases is being saved. Of course, there is more stuff to be done here. We need to we already have a way of finding out what triggered the build information, like what triggered the build, like the get, either it was a call triggered by a get or was triggered by a manual build or whatever. So all that, and then about the information about the container itself. So we already have ways of getting the information, but that will be put into the database, and which should be done which should be done soon enough. And after that, we will be exposing the data to the outside world via via Django views. And once that is done, we will actually be entering into the final phase where we want the data available on the UI. So the UI is already being worked on in parallel, but it is not currently showable because this data is not yet exposed. So once the data is exposed, we will actually be able to show even the UI, even if it's not complete. So but yeah, we do have successful data getting successfully added, that models are working and all of that stuff. So yeah, I guess that's it from the demo. If you have any questions, you can always where to reach us. You can contact us on CentOS Devil mailing list and all that stuff. Yeah, so feedback is always welcome. Thanks a lot for listening in.